We are live. Hi, how are you, Paige? Wow, look at
I'm
this.
good.
This reminds me of a Beethoven Symphony number 6. Welcome, Paige Havana. Thank you. This is the window looking out of a very beautiful scenery of Paige's parents' home. Okay, great. All right. Paige, how are you?
I'm good. Turn it back around. I'm back.
Great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Yeah, it's so wonderful. Today, my name is Ching, by the way. I do this talk show once a week, sometimes 3 times a week, and it depends on the urgency or my guest schedule. And so today, I think Paige, you made number 70 episode
Oh,
of my talk show. Yeah,
interesting.
either a 1-to-1 or
So
sometimes
one of
I
my
talk to
lucky numbers,
yeah,
so that works.
sometimes I talk to a group of people, like group Young and sometimes a lot of times it's a 1-to-1. So thank you for tuning in. We have guests here already. So let me introduce Paige, my guest today. Paige is a designer. She received her Bachelor of Industrial Design in May 2019 and currently works as a packaging designer. She has always been interested in problem solving, but in their work as a designer, they got to see how the infrastructure of our system prevents larger problems from being solved by single products. This realization initiated her interest in politics. Paige joined the Young Gang in July 2019 after stumbling across an article about Andrew Yang online. She got up the courage to go to the first event and from there only became more and more involved. She read Andrew Yang's book, The War on Normal People, and was particularly blown away by his empathy. In late 2019, Paige worked as a ballot access and operations intern for the Yan 2020 campaign in their New York headquarters office. She also worked on the Herzog 2020 campaign as a volunteer organizer. She's currently serving as an interim board member for the Humanity First movement. Thank you so much for joining
Thanks for
me.
having me.
Yes. So, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm
Happy
enjoying,
Thanksgiving
yeah,
in
happy
advance.
Thanksgiving. I'm very excited to eat the food
Yes. So,
tomorrow. I'm
where
very
are you?
excited.
Tell us right now.
I'm actually visiting my parents down in North Carolina. We're having a very small social distanced Thanksgiving celebration, just my close family. And we're going to cook some food and enjoy nature. My parents have a house kind of out in the very rural area of North Carolina. As you might have seen earlier, the kind of picturesque view. We have a lot of land, so it's very different from New York, which is where I live usually.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So, are you the only child?
I have one younger brother who's currently in college studying chemistry.
Nice. Nice. So, tell us a little bit about your upbringing now that you grew up in North Carolina.
Yes, I grew up in North Carolina, near Chapel Hill. So if you're familiar with University of North Carolina, UNC, perhaps the basketball team, a lot of people love the basketball team. I grew up very close to there, almost on campus. Chapel Hill is like a small college town with very good schools, very good public schools. So I grew up in, I think, pretty normal childhood, suburbia. Um, Played outdoors. I think I was part of the generation that like I didn't have an iPhone or a cell phone until like high school. So I kind of, like my brother's generation, for example, he had a phone much earlier. And so I think that impacts a little bit the way I think.
Yes. So, at what point you decided to go live in New York City in Brooklyn? Like, did you go to school over there, or you just moved there?
So I finished out high school in Chapel Hill, and I applied to college all over the country, and I ended up getting into Pratt Institute, which is in Brooklyn. So I actually went there for a pre-college program before, and I really liked the campus, and I really liked Brooklyn, and I knew that it was going to be a good education. So, and thankfully, I was able to get enough like academic scholarship that it was financially feasible because it is a private school. So, and then I went to Pratt for 4 years. I graduated last May, no, year
Yeah.
2019, May
Yeah.
2019. So
Mm-hmm.
not this past May.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed my time there. I think I was ready to leave by the end of it, but I really enjoyed Pratt.
So, are you always very artistic? Like, for you to become a designer, what kind of a basic training you have to have before even you get to accepted by Pratt? Pratt is a very reputable college. I know.
Yeah, so I had kind of always been crafty and I don't know, I did a lot of arts and crafts type of stuff as a kid. I did like summer camps with arts and crafts, and I was always interested in. I mean, I had about 1,000 different hobbies as a child. Like I did like scrapbooking and pottery and um, stamps, and I decorated gourds for a while. I had like a gourd phase. Um, I think I played a bunch of sports too. I did gymnastics for a while when I was younger, so I did quite a lot of stuff, and I think that all of those things. I just really like creating stuff and being creative and doing stuff with my hands and like solving problems. I was never much of a artist in the way I just wanted to create like abstract stuff. Most of my creative instinct comes from like problem solving and having like a prompt and something to solve and having like a context with which to design in. Um, so yeah, I think that definitely influenced me growing up.
So, so do you have to be able to do a lot of drawing when or is it everything is on computer?
We spend the first year doing hand drawing. So Pratt assumes, so when you apply to Pratt, when you apply to most art schools, they require a portfolio. So you have to send in like a bunch of drawings. They'll tell you actually what you have to draw sometimes. Like RISD, what Rhode Island School of Design, actually has an infamous like bike drawing that you have to do to apply. And so you have to send in these drawings. Either you scan them in and you mail them, or you one or the other. And yeah, you have to send in a portfolio. So some people, they'll take art classes in high school, or they'll do art summer camps, or they'll have an art tutor or something to help them put together this portfolio. I was really lucky. I did a lot of art and design summer camps at like local colleges or local programs. And I took ceramics and then 2 years of drawing and art history in high school. Thankfully, we had like an art program. And I also was able to do Pratt pre-college a few years before I applied to Pratt. And so that also, because I was at Pratt learning a little bit of their curriculum ahead of time, I had, we were doing figure drawing with the model. We were doing, observational drawing of like objects on a table, very like stereotypical kind of art class stuff that you think of. I did some architecture and like product design and graphic design and web design stuff as well. So I've kind of done a little bit of everything before I got to Pratt, and that helped build my portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get to Pratt, they don't always assume that you have experience in those things. So the first year is a foundation year. So every major, except for I think architecture, we'll take the same set of classes, which is figure drawing and light and design, which talks about like light theory and color theory.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also take like a 3-dimensional class where you learn how to like work in the wood shop and learn how to like deal with materials in your hands. And I've always responded best to 3-dimensional stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I like graphic design, but I just really like doing stuff in 3 dimensions. It's more interesting to me personally. So
Yeah,
I definitely I've got to do a lot of stuff over the
Would
past.
would we be able to see some of your work on your site?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let
You
me
can drop the link if you want.
I share. Yeah, I can share uh, the screen. All right.
Oh, yeah.
So tell us about it.
Okay, so the first project up in the top left there was we didn't have thesis projects, but it was my senior project. So I really studied sleep apnea, which is it's a disease where your breathing isn't happening during sleep. So it usually happens to people when they get older and their vocal folds or parts of their throat start to collapse a little bit. If you snore or you have been snoring for a long time and it's getting worse and worse, that is a symptom of sleep apnea. So basically what happens is you kind of stop breathing or your breathing gets like kind of constricted while you're asleep and it lowers the amount of oxygen in your blood. And because of that, it causes, all sorts of health problems. And it's hard to detect because you're not awake when you're asleep. So you can't tell if you're like sleeping bad. I mean, you can wake up and feel tired, but that could be for any number of reasons. So it's very hard to diagnose or to realize that you have it. Once you go to like a sleep lab, they'll put all sorts of monitors on you and you sleep in the lab and then they'll tell you if you have it or not. But for normal people who don't have the money to go to a sleep lab, or maybe they don't have insurance, or they just don't want to invest like a whole evening, right? Like sleeping over at a sleep lab can be like kind of a big deal. I decided to invent a wearable device that would allow you to track sleep apnea and try and see if you have it ahead of time. And then once you had a good idea of whether or not you had it, you could go to a sleep lab, then come back and use the same device to continue to track your sleep apnea and see whether or not you were getting better. A lot of the devices that currently exist for sleep apnea are like big masks that force air into your lungs, which is, if you have sleep apnea, very critical and very important to wear. My father actually has it as well, and he has like a device that you wear that pushes air into your body, so you never, like, it stops snoring basically. So I designed this wearable device. It goes on the hand, it wraps around your wrist, and then there's a piece of fabric that goes up to the finger, and then on the finger there's 2 sensors, like infrared sensors that sense blood oxygen content. And then I also designed an app to go along with it so that you can stream the data from the wrist to the app, and you're better able to track it. Yeah, so I spent about 1 semester on this project. It was for a class, but they told us, you have to find a problem, go out and do a bunch of research about it, figure out exactly the best way to solve it, and then how are you going to market that and create a viable product. So
so
yeah.
is it in like, what's the next step? Is it utilized by someone else, or you are promoting it?
So this project, since it's a school project, it never really made it past the proposal stage. So I did a bunch of research. I designed it. I prototyped it. I made sure that the efficacy was good. And I did sort of a presentation of it. But I mean, I don't have any funding or anything to go and make this into a real product. So I don't. Currently, it's not on the market or anything, and I don't have any plans to. But if anybody out there is like a investor and wants to see this product out on the market, let me know.
Did you hear that? Anyway,
and then
anything else in this
I
list?
also have packaging design products that I've done. So the one right underneath that is a company called Symbiome, and this is something that I've been doing for the past year in my job. So I work as a packaging designer with a design firm, and the skincare company came to us and said, hey, we need packaging. It's a new company. They just launched about a month ago, actually. And their concept is symbiotic, probiotic oils and like fermented oils from the Amazon. It's very science-based, but it's also very expensive. And so as a packaging designer, we had to both source or design packaging that fits with their brand, but also make sure that it would keep the product stable for a long time, that it feels expensive, because the product itself is very expensive. And if you get people are not going to want to pay a ton of money for packaging that feels cheap. So that was a concern. And they're also very interested in sustainability. So we used glass, and we're working right now to make like refillable options. And we minimized the shipping materials as well, so that you're not shipping like tons of bubble wrap places, and focused on like recyclable or post-consumer recycled materials.
Wow.
And they did a wonderful job with the photography of it too. So I just really like all of the how the photos came out. I think they did a really good job.
Yeah, very neat. Wow. What is this thing?
So also a school project. We got to collaborate with NASA. So we got a project brief from NASA. It was a group project. So me and two friends, we got a project brief from NASA. They wanted us to explore how we could start to communicate things without visuals. So, right now, astronauts, you can see the screen right there. Like that's the screen that they're looking at, all those buttons and knobs and dials. And there's so much visual information that it's really hard for astronauts to add anything else to that, because it just becomes noise. So they wanted us to explore how we could start to communicate stuff to astronauts through the skin. And we decided to we did a bunch of research, and we decided to go with vibrating motors on a vest. So we did a bunch of research on, where's the best placement? What do people associate different placements on the body with? How can we change the vibration of the motor, like pulsing it, or making really sharp beeps, and how do people associate that with different types of information? And so we ended up, we did a lot of testing for this. We did a lot of experiments, and we came up with, we ended up with this final garment. We did if you scroll down further, it'll show more pictures of the final garment itself and like the experiments that we did. I also took inspiration from music, like music sheets, to kind of explain how the pulsing of the motors would work. So this is the vest. It's got a bunch of features on it, right? It has to be adjustable so different people can wear it. And then the red circles are where the motors are embedded in the garment. So we had to embed the motors and then wire them in, and put a battery, and put straps and elastic, and sew it all together in a way that was very comfortable and wearable. And we ended up flying down to Houston to present this at a conference at NASA, which was really exciting. And we got to speak to like actual astronauts and have them try it on and get their feedback on things. And I'm really happy with how that project turned out. I'm really proud of the vest. So,
wow, that's so great. So great. Thanks. So, now, wow, there's a lot of things. There's a furniture here.
Yeah. I for a while, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. So, I explored furniture, I explored wearables, I explored, UI UX, which is like interface design. I explored, packaging. I did a lot of stuff, and this is a stool that I made. I did it while I was in school, because I no longer have access to a wood shop, sadly. It's very expensive to have a wood shop on my own, but I made this while I was in school. I actually still have it. It's here at my parents' house.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So it's a tall stool, right?
It's like a bar stool height.
Bar stool, yeah. beautiful.
Made out of solid cherry, which is my
Oh,
favorite kind of wood.
yes, yes. We have some cherry furnitures in my house. That's beautiful. So now let's talk about something else. Now I met you. I believe I met you. Let's see. Was that in the Times Square and Times Square canvassing? UBI, not Times Square, Times Square, and also we also went to a protest at NBA, not
Mm.
NBA,
I think I met you before then. I might have met you at the UBI march.
UBI march.
Yeah, I think I met
Yeah,
you at the
UBI.
UBI march
Okay,
because
that's last year.
I remember walking around and like getting stuff out of people's cars, and I remember.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
think that's where we met. We might have met before then too, but I don't
Mhm.
remember honestly.
Yeah. Okay. So UBI would be October 26, 2019. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your involvement politically. Are you? I know you're on the board of the what do you call
Humanity First
humanity?
movement.
Yeah, yeah. I really enjoy you hosting the meeting. You are very organized. You're very articulated, and you seem very confident. Are you always like this when you are young? Like when you are a teenager, are you always a leader?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I was so painfully shy as a child. Didn't want to talk to anybody. I never wanted to be on stage. I didn't want to speak in front of anybody. Absolutely not. Was not like that. And then I got to high school and I was still very anxious and, kind of self-conscious as like a lot of high schoolers are. But slowly starting in high school, I started to like come out of my shell a bit. And then by the time I got to college, I was living in Brooklyn, New York by myself. So I had to be a little more confident. And then I took a student leadership position at the Industrial Design Society chapter. So I had to step into a bit of a leadership role there. And that was like baby steps. And then I graduated. Right after I graduated that summer, I traveled to Japan by myself for a month. And so that made me more independent and then more confident. And then then I got involved in the Yang campaign. And uh, at first I was like, well, I never saw myself as an organizer. I've not really ever seen myself as like the leader type because I'm very introverted and anxious. So it lends itself well to like being in front of people and being in front of crowds and stuff. Like even this call today I was nervous for because like potentially people could be watching it. Every time I lead a Zoom call, it's like
Yeah.
my heart beats a little bit at first before I get
Yeah.
myself going. I think I do a good job of like hiding it, but sometimes I'm more nervous than others.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, yeah, I was definitely not like that as a kid. It took me a long time of like slowly stepping further and further out of my shell
Mm-hmm.
to become more confident. And the Yang campaign helped me tremendously. I mean, at the beginning of the campaign, I could have never imagined that, 6 months later, I would be out asking strangers for their signature on a political piece of paper. Like I just could never have imagined it in my life. I could never have imagined that I would be organizing events,
Yeah.
that I would be hosting Zoom calls, really at all. So I'm very thankful that I, ended up doing that because I've definitely grown as a person. I feel like I've had several, like if you think of like Pokemon evolutions, right? I feel like I've evolved like 5 times in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have the campaign to thank for that.
So tell me a little bit. I'm not really terribly clear about. You see, I always look for NY.
I think we've lost Ching. Oh no. Or maybe I'm frozen. I don't know who's frozen. Okay, Ching says she's coming back. I think her Wi-Fi dropped. Thank you for your patience, everybody.
I apologize. Something wrong with something here. I don't know what it is wrong. So anyway, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
You left me all alone.
Sorry, dear. Sorry, dear.
No worries. I was afraid mine was going to do that. So now if my Wi-Fi,
no, it's mine.
Like,
it's my problem. Sorry. Now tell me. We were talking about. So tell me a little bit about like, my process is when I was young and last year. At first, people ask me to do things. Right. At first, people say, "Oh, can you come here? Can you come there?" Hey, we have MJ. We have Nick. Thank you being there with us. Thank you. So and then later on, I don't need people to ask me to do this and do that because they know I make films, so they want me to go film them. So I would just go on to NYC Young Gang group, okay? Because there's one is a Facebook page, one is group. Now, so tell me, right now, does the NYC Young Gang group, it became humanity, what? Humanity First movement?
So I can explain the origin.
Tell me.
I can explain. Yeah, it's a little, it's interesting. So, after the campaign ended, right? I think we were all just like, we're not ready to stop. We want to keep going. What are we going to do? We have to get back together. We have to keep everybody going. And so there was a scramble of, I think, a lot of like organizations popping up. And I don't know if you were ever on the National Yang Gang Slack, but the National Yang Gang Slack it's actually run by organizers. So after the campaign ended, I think maybe a few weeks after, a bunch of the Yang Gang regional organizers, the YGROs, came back to that Slack and said, hey, we want to keep going. Why don't we start organizing in this Slack again? And so, I wasn't really involved at that point because I think I had hopped onto the Herzog campaign by then. I wasn't keeping tabs as much on that Slack, but they started organizing and they started, forming like working groups and trying to write like bylaws and trying to work on different projects and supporting different candidates. And they elected a board. And so there's been an interim board going since, I believe, February or March. And they've been continually organizing in that Slack. And then after the Herzog campaign ended, immediately after, like 3 days after the end, I ran for the board position on Humanity First Movement because somebody reached out to me and said, hey, I think you might be interested in this. It'd be really great to have someone from New York, it'd be great to have someone from the Herzog campaign come in. So I ran for it, and I think there were like 3 slots or 5 slots. But
tell us a little bit about Herzog, in case people don't know what are you talking about.
Right. So Jonathan Herzog, who was, I think, the 6th campaign hire for Andrew Yang, lives in the same district as Andrew, which is District 10 in New York, west side of Manhattan, and then like weird gerrymandered parts of Brooklyn. He decided to run for Congress. So, after the Yang campaign ended, a lot of the New York Yang Gang transitioned to supporting Jonathan. So, me and Helen and Nell and, and Jennifer, like a ton of people,
Linda.
Yeah, really
Diane.
a lot of hopped on and really helped out with that campaign, which was awesome. And I got to know the Yang Gang better, and I got to help out with the campaign. The Yang campaign was the first campaign, period, that I ever helped with or worked on. And the Herzog campaign was the first congressional campaign I ever helped out with or worked on. So it was a major learning experience because first of all, I had to learn about all the congressional districts in New York. Like I didn't even know. And then I had to learn about, the incumbent, and I had to learn about the Democratic Party, and I had to learn about ballot access and how you can get on the ballot in New York, because it's actually quite complicated, and the rules are probably more complicated and difficult than they need to be. And I had to learn about how to do digital marketing. I had to learn about, how should we make graphics? How are we branding Jonathan? How I worked a lot on his website. I worked on some graphics. I worked on, I helped corral some interns that we got from local colleges. And so I was also learning best how to, or just by trial and error, basically learning how to manage other volunteers as well, which was really quite challenging. And it was really a lot of work, but I enjoyed it, and I'm very glad I did it, and I learned a lot from it. So yeah, the campaign sadly lost, but I really think that we've set Jonathan up for another run if he wants to do it. He hasn't said whether or not I think he said he doesn't want to run again, but we'll see.
Yeah. So we're going back to say, how did you involve? How did humanity first movement? I always was thinking humanity forward, humanity first. It's really confusing.
Regrettably confusing. It's regrettably confusing. So humanity first movement is the group. Basically, the organization didn't have a name for a while, and then they did a vote. They had a bunch of people propose a bunch of different names, and then they did ranked choice voting on which name they liked the best. And the organization chose Humanity First Movement. Unfortunately, Andrew Yang chose Humanity Forward, and we chose Humanity First Movement, and they're very similar but not quite the same. So it's regrettably confusing, but at the moment we are separate organizations. So I don't think we could be Humanity Forward Movement unless we were to, fold into his organization. Hopefully we'll be able to resolve that eventually. But
so how did New York NYC Yang Gang became Humanity First Movement?
Right. So a while back, I realized that, we still had this long email list, right? We have a lot of active people in New York who maybe didn't have a focus at the moment. After the Herzog campaign ended, we were hopping on to help out some of the endorsed candidates from Humanity Forward, but we didn't really have a central organizing hub. And so I realized, we still have this long email list that we can reach out to. So I started writing to this email list, and I said, well, we can't be called the Yang Gang forever, because the Yang Gang, it's specific to a point in time, right? To the Yang campaign. So if we keep using the name Yang Gang, it will constantly refer back to Yang, which isn't necessarily bad, but Yang has his own specific set of branding and talking points. And if we shift to something a little more neutral and a little more professional, to be honest, I love the name Yang Gang, and I will
lasting, right? Lasting also.
Yeah, exactly. It needs to be something that's lasting. So I was well, the national organization is already voted, right? We had a big vote, and a lot of people liked Humanity First Movement. So I brought it to a meeting of Yang Gang in New York. I had a meeting, I think, in August, and I said, how do you guys feel about renaming? I was I suggest we go with Humanity First Movement, so we don't come up with something else and then add to the whole confusion of Humanity First, Humanity Forward, Humanity, Nerds for Humanity, Humanity for Humanity. It just gets a little confusing. So let's stick with a name that already exists, and they're more than willing to let us use that name and be the state chapter of that sort of grassroots organization. So now we are New York Humanity First Movement. Kind kind of officially, but unofficially. I don't know.
I see.
Yeah, so I have our email list, our website, our Slack. We have a Slack. I should probably drop all of these links. Let me.
Yeah, please. You can write it in the private chat, and then I will bring it to the
Okay,
common
cool.
area. Yeah.
So this is the website for our state chapter, New York Humanity First Movement.
Okay.
I made us a little logo. And I list on there, we have a Google Calendar that has all of our events on it. So people can see upcoming events and meetings if they want to join them. I'll have links and stuff there. That's our website. We also have links to like our Facebook page and stuff from there. And then the Slack, let me find the Slack link. Hopefully everyone is familiar with Slack, but that's what we're using basically to
my
organize.
brain is gonna explode by Slack. I have so many Slack coming. By the way, if someone makes something like make a comment on Slack or make a message on Slack, then I will see it, right? If that person does not make anything, nobody is right, and so I don't have to bother to check the Slack, or I have to constantly checking Slack. Do you understand my question?
Yeah. So Slack has settings that you can go in and change. So if you change the settings to like notify me about everything, then you'll get notifications about everything.
Okay.
Once the Slack space becomes very busy, that can be overwhelming, and some people get really irritated. So the Slack settings that I would suggest would be to notify only when somebody tags your name. So they can do kind of like on Facebook, right? They do like at Ching Juhl on Facebook or something. You can like tag somebody like on Twitter, for example. You can tag people in Slack as well. And you can also tag the entire channel. So everybody who's in a particular Slack channel would get a notification about that. And that would be my suggestion for how to set up notifications for Slack is like only be notified about stuff that you're tagged in.
Okay.
Otherwise, I mean, I check Slack every day because I'm on like 18 different Slack workspaces. Like my life has become Slack.
Oh my God.
I have the national one. I now have the New York one. I have the Humanity Forward one.
Paige
I have Represent Us. The People's Party. I think I was on Fair Vote for a while, but I'm not on that anymore. If I don't remember. Income Movement has one. My local Democratic Club has one. Like, Georgia. And I have one for work. So
you belong to Georgia Slack? The Georgia Slack.
Yeah, I'm not on the Georgia Slack, but that is another one that I could be on.
Yeah. So you want to give us the Slack, or there's nothing to give, or people can.
I dropped the link in the private chat here. Join Slack.
Oh, okay.
Slack.
Oh, yeah. You just give it to me.
So if anyone's anyone in New York wants to join us in our Slack workspace, just click that link.
Yeah.
And you can hop on, and I think so far there's not a ton of people on there because I haven't advertised it widely. I wanted to make sure that like all the channels were set up appropriately. I think in the future I'm going to plan a Slack onboarding event. So I'll drop a link. This is an idea that I just came up with actually. I might host an event on Facebook where I post in the New York City Yang Gang Facebook group, and I say, here's the Slack link. And in a few days, I'm going to have an event where I teach everybody how to use Slack. So for people who are new to Slack, they can get like a thorough walkthrough, and they won't feel super intimidated. Because I know that it can be very confusing if you haven't used it before.
Can you give a one simple paragraph of description of what is Slack?
Yeah. So Slack is meant to replace email threads. So it's a software that's designed to replace like really messy, gross email threads. You go in, and it's basically like a bunch of different chat rooms. They're each called a channel. So you can chat in a channel. You can share documents in this channel. And usually channels are centered around projects. So you'll have a channel, let's say, for like this packaging design project that I'm working on with my boss for Symbiome, right? We'll have a channel for that. Or we'll have a channel for onboarding, let's say, like in our Humanity First Movement Slack. And you can also send people DMs. So you can directly message with people. You can share files. You can link to calendars. It's like a work platform. It's designed for working, not so much for being social. Social is more like Facebook and Twitch, maybe, or not Twitch, Discord. But work is it tends to be very productive. So that's why we chose to use it. I don't know if that helps at all.
Kind of, yeah. I think you have to use it and then you understand, right? I do use it. Yeah, so I kind of understand. It's almost like looking at a film editing software. So many different categories, but I think it is logic though. It is logic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So all right. So what's going on now? Are we eventually going to get rid of the word NYC Yangan on Facebook? Or
yeah,
when?
so we're probably
I'm gonna cry.
we will probably change the name of the group. I want to talk more with like the other admins of the group because I don't want to just go in and be like, this is what we're doing now. I want it to be more democratic than that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk with Fulton and some of the other people that are admins in the Slack and just make sure that they're all cool with it. And I want to put our logo on there, put our new graphics on there, make sure we have everything up to date. So our NYC Yang Gang page will change to probably New York Humanity First Movement. So we don't have a New York. Right now it's New York City specific, but I think we just need to grow it to be New York because there aren't very many other active pages for things outside of NYC. Like we have a Queens, Brooklyn, whatever.
But then you have a page. We have a page called New York for Andrew Yang. I'm adamant of that. Yeah.
Okay. So, but we'll have to figure out how to consolidate all the pages into something more accessible for people who just want to, jump on and like Google us.
Yeah.
So we will probably change the Facebook name, and then that will coincide with our website name, and then that will coincide with our email branding and our email. So hopefully everything can start to be more unanimously branded.
Yeah. Because right now, when you have meetings about Humanity First movement, I see lots of people from all over the places. It's not like New York City people, right?
Yeah. So when we have meetings, Humanity First movement, like on the national Slack, we'll host like Sunday Night Lives, for example, and we get people from all over the country who come to those. Sometimes even out of the country. But then we also, like the meetings that I've personally been hosting are New York, like Yang Gang, New York Humanity First specific, and they're people from all over the state. So we do want this to be a statewide thing because I don't want to exclude people outside of New York City because I know that New York City gets like a lot of attention, but like upstate New York is also very important, and we want to include them as well.
Yeah. So tell us now, what is cooking right now, basically?
Yeah. So there's a couple things going on. If people want to learn more about it, we have, it's not super descriptive, but on the Humanity First Movement website, we have our initiatives listed out. So the link we dropped earlier to the New York website has our initiatives. The first initiative that we're working on is something that was initiated by Humanity Forward. So Andrew Yang, and his team decided that right now they're going to push for cash relief in Congress. So they're focusing all of their energy and attention on passing cash relief in Congress, which is really awesome because right now is like the best possible time to be pushing cash relief, right? People really need it. And with COVID and people having to stay home, it makes even more sense than it does usually. And it already makes a lot of sense. So, what they're hoping is that we'll pass cash relief in Congress, and then eventually we'll be able to keep it going, and it will morph into UBI, full UBI afterwards. So they're taking this moment, they're partnering with Income Movement, and they're also asking for states to participate and help to raise money. So their strategy going forward is for the next 3 months, they're fundraising. So they're transitioning now from the campaign stage kind of ended, like, for Biden, for all of their endorsed candidates, whatever. They're transitioning now from that to UBI. So the next 3 months is planning and fundraising. And they need to fundraise primarily for help getting in contact with Congress. So to do that, they're hiring a lobbyist, which I know people are like sensitive to the word lobbyist, but it would be a lobbyist for the people, because we the people, Humanity Forward, would be hiring this lobbyist. And this person would go in, develop relationships with people in Congress and be able to communicate with them on our behalf, because there's actually laws about who's allowed to lobby Congress, and you kind of have to be hired as a lobbyist to do it. So that basically gets our foot in the door and allows us to speak with them on their level. We'll also, of course, Andrew Yang is calling Congress people. I think he said last night he's calling like 1 to 3 Congress people a day, being like, you got to get on this UBI train. It's the best. You got to give cash. Like, cash relief has to happen. He's really making the pitch. And so from the grassroots, they've been asking us to help with fundraising. So, if anyone at home can donate, that would be awesome. But also, coming up with creative ideas to fundraise. They need about, I think their goal is about $450,000 a month, which sounds high, but if you think about, like, compare it to campaign days, like, we were raising way more than that in the campaign. So I think it shouldn't be terribly difficult. I'm actually going to drop the link to donate. So the way they're kind of trying to gamify it is each state gets their own specific ActBlue link, and the states that raise the most money, right, will kind of get rewards. Like, maybe we'll get some free T-shirts, maybe we'll get some free merch, maybe we'll get some call time with Andrew if we raise a lot of money. So, like, have people donate through the New York link, because we want to prove to them that we're capable of organizing and that we've got our shit together. Yeah. So that's our New York specific link I dropped. That's one initiative. The second initiative is around ranked choice voting. So New York City, as some people probably know, is using ranked choice voting in their local primary elections in, I think, June or July of 2021. So there's a lot of work to be done around educating the public about ranked choice voting. And the first step is to educate ourselves about ranked choice voting. So we've been accumulating resources and sharing them in our Slack workspace to help each other understand exactly how ranked choice voting is going to go down in New York, because it's slightly different in every location. And, there's some weird little minutia rules. Like, if you signature gathered at all, you'll remember there's like a bunch of bizarre rules that are like very strangely specific. It seemed like they were just put there to confuse people. It's the same thing as ranked choice voting, right? So we have to learn all of that and remember it, so that when we go out on canvas, or that when we do educational events, when we put together educational materials and videos, that we will be able to share accurate information. So we're in the beginning stages of that. It's not like, ranked choice voting is happening tomorrow. So we do have some time to, like, sit with this project and really do a good job with it. I'm really excited about that.
When you say ranked voting, how do you spell the first word? What is it? Sorry, I didn't get
it. Ranked choice voting. So it means when you go
rank.
To ballot, you will rank each of the candidates in the order that you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ranked
and
choice.
If you're not familiar with ranked choice voting, there's a book that I would suggest called The Politics Industry by Bell and Porter. Catherine Gell, who's one of the authors of that book,
Uh-huh.
She recently went on the Yang Speaks podcast, actually, because this book came out recently and she's promoting it. It talks about the politics industry and how ranked choice voting and other voting reform measures could like very, very positively impact the state of our democracy and like the functionality of government. I mean, I learned, it's an excellent book. I would highly recommend it. It's on my reading list. I mean, it's on my, I don't know, it was on my reading list, obviously, and I read it now and it's on my favorite books list.
Adam! Adam is in the audience from California. Hi, Adam. He said it's Yen's policy.
Yeah, Yang was really big on ranked choice voting.
Oh.
So, yeah. Because it's very powerful, right? Like it would allow third parties to actually have a chance, first of all, because you don't have to worry about wasting your vote. So you rank your candidates from like 1 to 5, right? And you would be able to, like if your first candidate, if the candidate you rank first doesn't get elected, then immediately it goes to your second choice candidate. So your vote will most likely be counted because at least one of the people that you ranked will probably get a vote. So it eliminates the problem of like people having to try and figure out if they're wasting their vote or not. And it's just a much better system. It also ensures that when people get elected, they have to have more than 50% approval. So the way that the votes are tabulated, in order to win the election, right, you have to accumulate more than 50% votes, more than 50% of the votes. So as it stands now, right, you just have to kind of accumulate the most votes. You don't have to accumulate more than 50%. So you could end up with a candidate that only 25% of the country likes. Whereas ranked choice voting, you're going to get candidates that are much more moderate, less extreme. You're going to get candidates that a lot more people are comfortable with. I mean, the book does like a way better job of explaining all the mechanics behind this than I possibly could, but I would like really highly recommend it. It taught. I was already familiar with ranked choice voting, but this book was like it leveled me up. So I would recommend it.
Yeah. Oh, Adam says, Trump wouldn't have won the primaries if we had a ranked choice voting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we have Yangan here, Adam from California, Nick from Connecticut, and Sam from Virginia. Hi, guys. So they're all here supporting us. Thank you so much for listening. So now tell us a little bit about, I know you're not on the Slack of Georgia, but you can still tell us a little bit about the Georgia situation. What can we help? What can we do to help?
So originally, Yang had wanted to get kind of like a second almost Yang week going, like we had in Iowa. But because of COVID, they've been discouraged from doing that just for safety reasons. So they're asking people primarily to phone bank and to donate to the campaigns so that they can do digital ads. And I think there are still some Yang gang and some people who will be going down to Georgia, but they're hopefully we won't overwhelm the state because COVID numbers are rising right now and we want to be as careful as possible. So hop into the Georgia Slack, ask them how you can get involved. Feel free to just go ahead and sign up for the Warnock campaign, the Ossoff campaign, and just see what they need help with. I think for the most part, it's probably going to be phone banking. I think canvassing is obviously going to be fairly limited. The situation in Georgia is such that basically there are enough registered Democrats that if they can get enough people to turn out to vote, they can win it. So really all you have to do is get people to vote. Like they're already registered Democrat. They already like the candidates. All you have to do is get them to the polls. So it's not a hard ask. It's actually much like there's very little convincing that you have to do. It's not like, hey, vote for this candidate. They're the best candidate. It's like, it's a runoff campaign. So it's really between like the Democrat and I believe the Republican. So most Democrats who are registered are going to want to vote for the Democrat. All you got to do is help them make a plan to vote, is at least what I've been told. So it's really a matter of like how much energy we can get in there and exert, because if we do it enough, we will hopefully win. And then if both of those campaigns are successful, we will have a 50-50 split in the Senate. So that means that the Senate Majority Leader would have to change back and forth, I think, every year. I might be mistaken on that, but we would no longer have, I think Mitch McConnell is the Senate Majority Leader. We would no longer have Mitch as Senate Majority Leader for at least like 50% of the time. And because of that, cash relief would be way more likely to pass. So, I'm not a huge fan of either party. I recognize that both parties are corrupt and that there's a lot of work to be done to fix that. I do think that the Republican Party is more corrupt, but so under a Democratic Party leadership, things would at least be slightly more likely to pass, right? They're obviously more in favor of cash relief because it's, more government involvement, and for some reason, Republicans don't seem to believe in that. And we want to ensure the best possible chances for cash relief passing, and to do that would be to win both of these campaigns. So I think some people, have had misgivings because these are like Democrats and they haven't been endorsed by Yang necessarily, like they weren't endorsed prior to their runoff races. Yang he's physically down in Georgia himself because he recognizes the opportunity, right? If we win both of these races, we would have a majority in both Congress and Senate, and we'll have the president as all being Democrats, and so it would be much easier to pass anything. There will be much less gridlock, and not necessarily that the Democrats are our best friends, but they are more likely to do what we want. They're easier to lobby. They're easier to convince to do cash relief. So,
right. So, what is this whole movement and the whole yen thing, and until now, like impact to your life, your way of thinking and working? Like, does it sort of a very significant change into your lifestyle?
Yeah, absolutely. So back in 2016, when Trump first got elected, I was distraught and very surprised. I very much lived in the liberal bubble of Brooklyn Art School. A lot of my friends are very liberal. A lot of my art school friends are very liberal, or very progressive, maybe would be a better term. And so I just really never thought it was going to happen. I mean, a lot of the news was saying Hillary's got it, it's a cinch. Trump would never win. That'd be ridiculous. He's a racist bigot. Everyone who supports him is awful. And I did truly believe that. Like at the time, I was like, everyone who supports Trump, is supporting a racist, bigoted, transphobic, anti-LGBT candidate. And because of that, I felt that they were putting other people's human rights below their own personal wants. And it was a very toxic mindset to be in, because I really felt, you kind of feel like morally superior to another group of people. And so it's very easy to put them down and say, well, I'm better than you. You're an idiot. You voted for Trump. You're a horrible person. You voted for Trump. But the Yang campaign really opened my mind and made me empathize and really try and see things from multiple perspectives. So like you said in the intro, right, I read Andrew Yang's book, More on Normal People. And I was really blown away by his empathy for not only Trump supporters, but just lower income people or people who are close to the poverty line. Or I remember one section in the book, he talked about guys who live at home and play video games in their basement, which I think is like a pretty commonly, laughed at group of people. Unfortunately, like a lot of people don't think highly of that stereotype of person. But Yang really dug into it, and he said, well, like, if you really think about it, the options that these people are presented with is applying to jobs, which is literally miserable. Applying to jobs is the worst thing ever. I hate it, and I never want to do it ever again. I did it once, and I never want to do it again. It's miserable, and it's a lot of work up front for a potential payoff very far in the future, as opposed to video games, which is very immediate, very social, very visually and sensorially stimulating, right? It's very interesting and fun, and it's a very immediate satisfaction. So in the moment, right, like, it's kind of logical to choose the thing that's more more instantly gratifying and more socially gratifying, because we're very social creatures, right? So like his ability to kind of step back and look at it and not judge people for their behavior and just really look at like why people are doing what they're doing, not so much judging them for it, was like really impactful for me. And I've been trying to lead my life in that way ever since. I mean, it's hard, right? Because I think, my old instinct kind of goes back to like jump to conclusions or jump to judgment. But Yang really showed me, and the whole campaign and all his policies really showed me there's so much more nuance to everything, and to always come at things with as much empathy and understanding as possible, to remain open-minded. Because I also really didn't, I don't love identity politics, and I don't love the us versus them mindset. I don't love the scarcity mindset that like we don't have enough and we have to fight for what's left. I don't think all of those things are productive, and I don't think they're helping the society. They're not helping society move forward. So the opposite of that, right, is like being empathetic, being understanding, open-minded, and having conversations with people, not treating people as lesser than you because they believe different. Because I truly believe that everyone who's voted for Trump believed they were doing the right thing for their country at the time, right? They believed they were doing the right thing. I voted for Hillary. I believed I was doing the right thing. I don't think anyone's doing it maliciously. Like, they really do believe they're doing the right thing. And so maybe there were a small sector of Trump voters who were truly racist, whatever, but for the large majority of people, we're all just out here doing our best. And I don't think we need to like hate each other for it. It could be avoided.
Yeah. Dennis is here. Look, Dennis Trump for his old name is Trumper for Yan. Now is a T for Yan podcast. Dennis is a Republican. Yeah,
on Twitter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Dennis said, ununified government while we are at this polarized is a bad idea. I welcome the gridlock negotiation at the moment. Democrats have some very wasteful ideas, and they will pass them to pander to their base. 80% of us agree on the issue. Our wants and arguments become clouded through the ideological lens. We need to learn to talk to each other and not past each other.
Yeah, I think the ideological lens is something that has really prevented people from talking to each other, right? Like the label of socialist or the label of like alt-right immediately primes people to have an emotional reaction to whatever the other person is going to say, as opposed to if you just remove those labels and just have a conversation with somebody about their life and their experiences, you're going to come away like with so much more understanding, and you're not going to hate each other. You're going to understand each other a little bit better, which is, I mean, that's the goal, right? Unification is like understanding. And that doesn't mean we have to agree on everything, right? We can still disagree on stuff, but we don't have to go to war with each other over it, So I definitely agree with that.
Very good. Thank you, Dennis. So it's 5:05. Do you have anything you wanted to touch before we do the city game?
I don't think so.
We're good? Okay.
Okay, last thought.
Yeah.
I got off Twitter recently.
Yeah.
And it's been very healthy for me.
Mm.
To anyone out there who's on Twitter all the time and finds themselves being very angry and worked up and distraught frequently from what they see on their timeline, I know that it's kind of an asset for organizing, but I would recommend deleting it off your phone and only using it on your computer, because it can suck up a lot of your time and emotional energy. And the way the Twitter algorithm works, it wants to get us worked up and emotional, and it encourages this kind of ideological feuding. So as much as you can, try not to use Twitter. I know that's like Yang Gang loves Twitter, and we dominate Twitter and all of that, but keep your account, participate in hashtag trending, but for the most part, maybe stick to Twitter DMs and just, I don't know, text people. But for me, it's been very healthy personally to step back from Twitter. So that would be a suggestion maybe people could take to, like, if they want,
Interesting. Wow. I don't really know how to tweet enough. I don't tweet enough, and I don't get, uh, you know, disturbed. I actually disturbed. I get more disturbed by WeChat. I have so many WeChat groups. Uh,
Wow.
so many. It feels like suffocating. Like you see all of a sudden the 79 messages you haven't read yet, or 149 you haven't read yet. You feel like you didn't do your homework. But if I read all of them, I'll have no life. So I actually got out of many WeChat groups. I just tell people I have no time to read everything.
Yeah.
So
Social
yeah.
media, so a couple of years ago, I got really into minimalism, which is like owning less and being much more purposeful about what I consume and what I own, which was really great. But then I also started learning about, or started thinking about how can I apply the same methodology to my time and my, particularly my digital online presence. So, what am I really getting out of Twitter, and how much time am I putting in to get that benefit, right? So the benefits that I get from Twitter are seeing what's trending, maybe being able to contact certain people that I can't contact otherwise, being a part of particular DM groups and circles of people. And I don't need to be on Twitter 2 hours a day to get those benefits. I can actually be on Twitter twice a week for 10 minutes and get those exact same benefits. So it's the same for Facebook. It's the same for email and for Slack even. All this stuff can become addicting because that's how it's designed to be. It's designed to be addicting so that they can get more ad revenue from you because you're looking at more ads.
Yeah.
So the more you can step back and really treat it as a tool instead of just something that you do when you're bored, the better. And then you really start to leverage these technologies as tools to make your life better instead of letting them invade your life and kind of take over it without realizing that you're even doing it. There's a good book called Digital Minimalism.
Oh yeah.
By, I forget who it's written by, but it's let's see, Cal Newport. It's a really good book. It talks about how we use technology like this and our relationship with it. And he suggests going on a 1 month no technology, not binge, but just abstaining from technology and social media for a whole month.
Wow.
And it really forces you to sit with yourself and be okay, why am I using this technology? What else could I do with my life that's maybe either more productive or more soul fulfilling or more satisfying? Maybe I want to spend more time with my family. Maybe I want to, volunteer more. Maybe I want to read more. But I end up on YouTube watching stupid videos for 12 hours, instead. I think most people reckon with, it helped me reckon with the way I was using technology. So if people are interested, I would recommend that.
We should have a digital fasting.
Yeah. Maybe 1 day a week where you don't at all. Even if you're not willing to give up Twitter, maybe just 1 day a week. Just don't go on Twitter and see if that day is any better than the other days. Because maybe it is. But
yeah, interesting. Interesting. So, all right, we are wrapping up very soon. I have in 5 minutes, I have another Zoom call actually with another group. So let's do a quick, how about quick, what do you call, rapid fire?
All right.
I do with my guest. I ask some short questions. Ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Favorite color?
Blue, gray.
What is your favorite food genre?
Pasta.
When I take you to bar right now, what would you like to order?
IPA.
What is IPA?
It's a type of beer.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Now, so do you have an ideal place you want to visit when the COVID is over, like foreign country?
I'd love to visit Korea. I'd love to go back to Japan. I'd love to actually visit within the United States. There's a lot of really beautiful places in the States too. I'd love to go to, I've not been to Yellowstone. I've not been, I'd love to go back to I've never been to California. I want to go to California, see the
yeah.
mountains of California. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be gorgeous before it all burns down forever. I'd like
I
to see.
know. West is great.
Oh my gosh. Alaska, I've been to Alaska before, and Alaska was beautiful. Would love to go back there.
Do you drive?
Yes.
What is the ideal speed limit you think on New York highway should be?
60? What is it now? What is it? It's like 40.
I think no, depends. Some places is 55, like Palisades 55.
Okay.
And then maybe
I tend to drive within the speed limit because I don't want to get a ticket. I don't have any money to pay tickets.
Yeah, I know.
Or for higher insurance. My insurance is already insane. So I'm like, I'll just leave earlier.
Yeah, the other places maybe 65, So
yeah.
But I think in the West is a little bit higher. I think 70 maybe. Yeah. So what's the last book you read?
The Politics Industry by Catherine Gell and Michael Porter. I talked about earlier, but that's the last one I finished. I'm in the middle of 5 books right now.
Oh my God!
The last one I finished. Yeah.
Wow.
I've been trying to read more this year.
Yeah, if you're not a designer, what profession you might also consider?
Computer science.
Great.
Yeah.
So, compared to Brooklyn, where you are, or Manhattan, would you eventually wanted to ever consider living in Manhattan?
I don't think I could do Manhattan. No, I don't think I could. I think I like Brooklyn better.
You like Brooklyn? Okay.
I like Brooklyn better. It's calmer.
Yeah.
It's more nature. The vibe is better. It's a little less expensive.
If you win a lottery tonight, what are you going to do with it? Oh, 5 million.
5 million. I'd put a lot of it away in a retirement account, investment retirement account. I would probably I'd probably invest the rest and then use the returns to donate every year to something. I don't know. I would hire a financial advisor. That's what I would do because I really don't know what to do with money.
Nice idea. Okay. One last question because I have to go. Sorry, dear. Coffee or tea?
Coffee. But I like tea too. I like coffee better.
Yeah. Oh, another question. Chicken, beef, or pork? Which one?
I like the taste of beef best, but I feel morally best about chicken.
I thought you were a vegetarian. You look like a vegetarian.
Like cows and pigs are pretty smart, and chickens are stupid. So I feel better about eating chickens. I don't know.
Turkey.
I'd like to be vegetarian eventually, but
yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Paige, for talking with me, and it's a lot of
Thanks for
fun.
having
And
me.
yeah, and you guys, thank our guest Nick, Henry, Dennis earlier, and Sam. Let's see, who else? Sam and Adam, and also MJ. Yeah, MJ Kwong. Thank you for joining us. And if you have not subscribed my channel, please consider doing so. Juhl Media. So, push that button and also push that button of the bell so you get the notification of my program. So until next time, I have to go. And thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Yeah,
Thanks
and
for having
happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and happy eating turkey. All right.